So guys, if we have a quick look at the solution, you'll see that I've referenced the updated standard paragraphs 22 with the application paragraphs A50 for the acceptance and continuance. So competence and capable resources, it's a requirement in A50, and then you go down to your engagement resources to find the details, making sure that you've got sufficient resources. There's a concern that they don't have enough. There's a concern they don't have enough time because of the tight deadline. Okay, technical expertise. There's a concern that they don't have enough budget to get experts if they need them. And knowledge, insufficient knowledge on the standards, on the industry, because it's a first of this nature. The relevant ethical requirements, although it's not specifically included in paragraph A50 like it was in our previous ISA 220, the ethical requirements are there in this quality management standard from before you actually take on an engagement throughout the engagement. So you still have to adhere to those ethical requirements in the consideration of whether we should accept or not. I've referred you to the CPC to show you the threat, the significance, and examples of safeguards. You don't have to apply that just yet, but be aware that if you are able to go and find it in the CPC, go and do so. You also don't have to reference. I've put it there for you so that you can see. The change in the professional appointment, not being able to contact the previous auditors, is a concern should you want to accept this engagement. And then being a secretary as well as a partner, big threat to independence. The integrity of the principal owners, so a bit of a concern here because they're adamant on keeping that fee low. So ISQM1 helps us here with the integrity and examples of what could be threats to the integrity. Other significant matters, so the fee, do you want to be associated with them, the reputation, and the legal vacancy. Okay, and finally, no engagement letter. ISA 210 says there should be. Then question 2, very similar question, but now looking at the risks because of the firm's policy, the firm's acceptance and client relationships components of that quality management system. So based on what's happening here in the acceptance of this engagement, were there any issues that you could see that's an issue here, and because that followed through, they accepted this client, but there was an issue there, it indicates that maybe their policy on acceptance and continuance is lacking, because had their policy said you shouldn't accept an engagement if the client's integrity is lacking because they are trying to keep the fee so low, then they wouldn't accept a client because they're trying to keep the fee low. So it's working in hindsight now, going backwards and saying they've done this, so there must be a problem in their policy, because if the policy said they shouldn't do this, then they wouldn't have done so. All right, so ISQM1, updated management quality standard, and it's about the firm. What does it say for the firm to have this engagement, acceptance, and continuance policy? What should you look at? Again, the staff. Do they have sufficient knowledge? Okay, paragraph A72 here helps us with this. Can they get experts if they need them? And all the concerns that we're picking up in the scenario, no, it doesn't look like they'll be able to get an expert. Therefore, there must be a problem with their policy, because if their policy had said, make sure you've got budget for experts, then they wouldn't have accepted this engagement. Okay, and then ethical requirements. Once again, I've referenced straight from the CPC where there are those threats to those ethical requirements, and this is exactly the same as the first part. Okay, and then finally the integrity, straight out of A68, and these are the same paragraphs or concerns or examples I would have used in answering the pre-engagement questions itself, because I have to go into ISQM1 for examples of client integrity lacking. Okay, so it's very similar answering, because we are looking for the problems around how they went about accepting this client, and then referencing that back to obviously a problem in their policy, because they did accept this client with all these concerning factors. All right, super guys.